Hi, teammates. This is Sean J. McCall, and I am your host, as usual, for the Eurostep. Looking to have great guests on here. Tonight is no exception, and we're just going to jump right into it. Dustin Sleeves is Sleva, not Sleeves. Dustin Sleva is my guest tonight, and I'm really excited to have him on. One of the things that made me want to have him on was the fact that he started at a D2 school, that he played at a D2 school and worked his way up to one of the highest levels in European basketball. So I wanted that to be an inspiration to those of you that are at smaller schools, D2, D3, NAIA, junior college, doesn't matter. Just to let you know that there is someone that has done what you're trying to do. So without any further ado, let's get him in here. Hi, everybody that's joining and coming back. It didn't take the first time. Let's try it again. Okay, why is it? There we go. There we go. Hold on. Let me fix my camera. Dustin,
What's up? How you doing?
How you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm fine, man. So I'm going to tell you, you were late. You were a little bit late, and we were on before, right?
Yeah.
And everybody that was in here before, they said they were going to start putting the clocks. See, there you go. Beta Fish got you.
Okay. Yeah, I came a little late. We had dinner and we're waiting for the food. So, but we're all good now.
No worries. You got time? You good?
Yeah, we're all good now. It just lasted. You know, Spain, the service is a little longer, so you never know when it's gonna stop. So.
Okay. All right. So thank you again for coming on, man. And like I said in the intro, I wanted to have you on to tell your journey and maybe have an inspiration for those that are coming from D2, D3, NAIA, whatever, that they can do it just as you did, you know, and I think that's a big time thing. So we're going to get right into it. Can you just introduce yourself really shortly, and then I'll start with the questions.
Yeah, I'm Dustin Sleva. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I graduated at Shippensburg University, and I'm currently in my sixth year professionally.
Yeah. So I think it's dope that that you came from a D2. We're gonna get to that in a second. But before I start, everybody look at the bottom of your screen at the comment section. If you would like to ask a question that everybody can see, you can ask it there. Or if you just want me to see it and I check it when something pops up, go to the question mark with the speech bubble around it, and only I see it, and I can get those questions out to him as well. Maybe it's something I'm already planning to ask, but I'll try to get everybody's questions in as they come in. Now, this should be more like a conversation and not like me ask you a question. Feel free to speak your piece. You know, it's real chill. I'm not out for I don't know, bait to have you say anything controversial that I can sell on ESPN or some shit like that. All right, it should be real chill and relaxed. Okay.
Yep.
All right,
sure.
We're gonna go back to your high school days. You played football, basketball, and baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a moment where you thought that you need to choose between one of those sports? Like, okay, at this moment, I'm going to choose basketball because maybe I'm better at basketball, or how was that for you?
For me, for sure, because I was a real late bloomer, and we had a really good football, especially. We had a really good football team with maybe 11 guys that ended up playing Division I the year that I decided not to play. So every practice, you know, I was at risk of getting hurt, and I wasn't playing. So there was no really need for me to try to risk myself to play football. I mean, I wasn't at this time when I quit football. I think it was my junior year. I decided to not play. I wasn't even starting basketball. So like I was still on JV my junior year of high school. Yeah. So, but I love football. I hate football practice, but I love football. Like I'd rather watch a football game than a basketball game, like NBA basketball game, depending on the European basketball game. But yeah, for sure. I had to decide. You know, a lot of people told me to because I kept getting hurt. I broke my wrist, knee, whatever, anything. So it was a good decision for me to stop. In baseball, I love baseball. I was pretty good at it, and I kind of just grew out of love with baseball. You know, when I got older, it got a little bit too slow for me. And basketball, I kind of always gravitated toward it because there's a lot of different things you could do when you're not physically able to do certain things. Like basketball is a fast man's game, but it's played by a lot of slow people. So there's things you could do in basketball that I could do when I was younger, and everybody started growing more than me, was more athletic than me, more stronger than me, and I could excel in different ways.
So were you, I mean, what are you, 6'7", 6'8"?
I'm 6'8" now, yeah.
6'8". So when you were junior in college, in high school, how tall were you back then?
Junior, so I hit a small growth spurt. I went from like 6'2" to 6'4" my junior year. My senior year, I was probably around like 6'5", 6'6", but still a little undersized, and I was very underdeveloped in terms of like weight. I couldn't gain weight. I had a funny body. I moved very weird. I have a high school highlight tape of like 6 games. Like, you can see flashes of my game there, but it looks way different than it does now. Like, you know, I thought I was this big. I should be playing Division I. You know, that's the thought when you're playing. But then I look back on it, I'm like, why would a coach take me? You know, so you kind of see where your headspace is at the moment and how you play and how you look and the reason why you weren't taking me this run. But I knew in my head that what I was able to accomplish, even though when I look back on it, I'm like, man, that doesn't look good. You know, why would a coach take you looking like that? But yeah.
Was there so if you are saying that you weren't moving well, you were kind of scrawny and stuff, I guess you weren't highly recruited coming out of high school.
No. No.
I mean, you stayed home, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh's not the best area to get recruited in the first place. I only started 1 year of basketball. My junior year, I played halfway through the season, but the first half I was playing JV. Like, we had a good team, and, you know, I kind of was in an awkward phase too. I could always shoot it. I could always play. I always had the fundamentals, and, you know, I kind of had a feel for the game always, but I wasn't physically ready to even play at the high school level. But I think as I got bigger and stronger a little bit, nothing crazy. My junior year, I was able to be put out on the floor, and we ended up winning the championship that year. We went to state semifinals, and the next year was kind of my year where I averaged 20 and 10, and I kind of blossomed a bit, but I still looked – we weren't as good, but I still looked like undersized, not fully developed. Not a guy you would be like, oh, that guy's a Division I player, but I think I had the tool set, you know, and when I grew – it all came together. But yeah, it was definitely a point in time where it was like, what's going to happen? Because I only had 2 offers during the season, and then one kind of half offer. The coach was like, yeah, I don't know if I want you or whatever. And then Coach Fight from Shippensburg actually got he looked at me the whole year. He saw kind of himself in me. He was like a 6'9", 6'10" guy that grew late. And he played at Division III Rochester and had 10 years pro overseas. So he was a guy that, you know, seen kind of himself in me, I think. And he picked me up. My parents were at work, and he actually came to pick me up in Pittsburgh. And I only have 1 scholarship offer. He came to pick me up in Pittsburgh, drive 3 hours to Shippensburg, and 3 hours back the same night just to get me on campus to, you know, just to because he had a scholarship offer and he really wanted me. So that really made an impression on me. And the next week, I think I went up with my dad. He had a day off, and I committed that day. So
you didn't have the whirlwind 5 visits?
No. I got diner hall food and Chick-fil-A halfway on the road there. You know. Yeah.
So did that at that point in your life? Did that drive you, or were you just kind of content with actually going somewhere? Being able to play somewhere, continue your education and your basketball somewhere, or did you have also bigger dreams like, okay, maybe I go here for a little bit, then I transfer?
I never thought of transferring. It's not how it is today too, because when you play Division II, you lose a year. When I played, it's not like if you're a Division II All-American, you go Big 12 and you're making money now. Now, if that was the case, I would probably have to think about it, obviously, you know. But at the time, I'm still thinking I'm overseas. I know that there's a route for me to play overseas, and I know that there's an opportunity for me to go Division II and play overseas because I see my coach. He was telling me how he did it, and I seen a couple guys from Pittsburgh do it. So I knew there was the route to do it. Now I'm very naive in thinking this, but when I was leaving, I'm like, I'm gonna go play overseas or, you know, always you have the NBA in your head, but you know the overseas is, you know, it's possible to get in the door and make something from it. So I always knew that was there, and I trained accordingly.
That's pretty dope because I mean, not a whole lot of players have a coach that played overseas or know somebody that played overseas or stuff like that. So you had kind of like the blueprint already there with you daily.
Right. So yeah.
How did he prepare you over the years?
I think Coach Fight. I mean, me and Shippensburg in the last 3 years, I was the main guy, but we always ran kind of like a more European concept type of basketball, more team basketball. So I mean, and it's never the same when you go, even from coach to coach, team to team. It's never the same. But I think I was more prepared in the style of play and the spacing, playing with Coach Fight at Shippensburg. But it was definitely a lot different because I was the one that had the majority of the ball in my hands. So when you go overseas, you know, especially as the four, you're moving without the ball, playing without the ball a lot more. So definitely prepare me a lot.
One thing I noticed while I was researching was your consistent growth. Each year you got better. Each year your stats got better. You got better. So you leave there as the leading scorer. You were leading scorer in school history, I believe, right?
Yep. Scorer and rebounder, not to brag.
D2 All-American. Do you think that constant growth, that steady growth, was that something that probably helped you to come overseas? I'll tell you why I asked you about that in a second. But is that a reason? Is that a viable reason?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're ignorant at every step. Now looking back on it, you know, you see where one step could go wrong or right and whatever. But at every step, I always had in mind that I was going to be better and better because I believe I trained that way each year. And I took it day by day. So, I mean, my first year, I remember I averaged like 8 points. And I thought it was good. But if I average 8 points, I mean, it's great for your freshman year. But, you know, that next step, you don't know how you're going to take it if your coach lets you take it. But it kind of just has to evolve, and you have to have someone that trusts you. But with Shippensburg, you know, you have a couple guys that might get injured or whatever, and then they see that you're the guy. And I think that's what happened kind of my sophomore year, where I had a good freshman year, and then my sophomore year, a couple guys went down or whatever, and then I was the go-to guy, and there was no looking back after that. So, I mean, it's kind of being ready for the opportunity when it comes to you, and also, you know, taking advantage of that opportunity. And there's so many guys that probably made a career off someone getting hurt, and God forbid anybody gets hurt, but you got to be ready for the opportunity to step up when it comes to you, you know.
I asked you about that consistency because one of the things that I noticed over the years while I've been living overseas and playing and coaching and now as my consultant work, that a lot of teams frown upon guys who are at multiple colleges. And I'm speaking as someone who also was at 3 colleges. I started out at Arizona, then I went to a JUCO, then I went back to the D1. So I also went to 3 colleges in 4 years. But a lot of teams, they don't like that. They like to see consistency at one place because they think if a guy's moving around a lot, there's something wrong.
Yeah,
there's a problem, right? So that's why I asked you if you felt like that was a key to you coming overseas, even though you were at a D2.
I think the most important about being at a D2 was honestly the lifestyle because, I mean, Shippensburg now, they have their own locker room and everything. But when I was there, it was I shared it with baseball and swimming. Think about it, water and dirt in the same area. We had the middle, and wrestling was over here, and some other, I don't even know what other team was there. But so like you're not pampered,
right?
So and when you come overseas, you're getting paid to play. You're not pampered like how a lot of big schools are. You know, you're living really well when you're at a great big university with 5-course meals every day, and you know you have the stipend and everything, and now they're going to even get paid. So I think that was, I don't know if it was good or bad, but you know, first couple of years you don't even have a locker room to put your stuff in. I'm used to this, you know. So there wasn't really a crazy jump from my last year at college to the first year overseas, and I was blessed to play where I played too in Paris. So.
we'll get to that in a minute. It's funny that you mentioned that about not being pampered or something like that, like some players at different schools. Actually, my very first job overseas, the coach told me later he chose me because I came from a mid major, so that he felt that I would have a chip on my shoulder to prove, yeah, and that guys that he had dealt with in the past that went to bigger schools were all spoiled.
Yeah.
And they didn't work as hard. They thought, I mean, I was in Austria. There was nothing going on in Austria.
Yeah. Right.
We barely we had to go to McDonald's for ice bags.
Right.
Like there was
That's
nothing
just how it
there,
is.
right?
Yeah.
And
first couple
me, I went to a small D1. I wasn't pampered either. It was I would say a big step to Austria, but still, I wasn't like. I mean, when I was in Arizona, that was big time. That was definitely big time. But I only spent 1 year there, so for me, it wasn't a problem. But I think that a lot of GMs, managers, agents, they also tend to look for guys that they think are not pampered. But that also falls in line with that staying at one school for 4 years. That helps.
Right. Yeah.
When you were a senior in college, did agents reach out to you, or how did you start getting in contact with agents? How did that whole process start?
Yeah, so since I was a junior, I had agents reach out to me. So and I had, obviously you have no idea, what's going into it. You're on Facebook and agents are talking to you. And basically I got my first agent through a mutual friend. He used to coach at Duquesne, and it's like a resume, like anything else. You go to Google, you're not at MIT, you don't take your Google job without going to MIT or Harvard or whatever. It's the same with basketball. I was 2-time All-American, Player of the Year in my conference, had good numbers. I was a foreman, which is easier than being a guard to get your first job. So, landing that first good agency definitely helps a lot. So, I've had agents talk to me since I believe my junior year.
How did you handle that situation? Did you talk to them all yourself, or did your coach kind of get involved? Because when I was a senior in college, I had my coach handle everything in the beginning, and he kind of vetted the process, got rid of guys that he thought wouldn't be a good fit, and I told him to leave me with 3. And by the time he left me with 3, because I wanted to concentrate on my season, I didn't want to get all wrapped up in that. And then by the time he got it down to 3, it was towards the end of the season, and then I started talking to them. How was it for you? How did you vet the process, and how did you do any due diligence? Did you look into the agents? How did you go about it?
Yeah, I had a good friend, Nick Novak, who played overseas, and every time I had an agent, I would kind of ask him, and I would kind of bit off every information I heard from multiple different people, from my coach, from players that were playing overseas. So that first process, you're talking to agents, you have no idea what they're talking about. They're talking to me about this country, that country. I'm like, dude, I have no idea, and I think when you trust somebody that's trying to help you out, and you kind of got to look to where to see the other players went, and kind of have a feel for the league you're in, but still when you're a rookie, you have no idea. You just want to get your first job. They could have sent me to anywhere. They sent me Antarctica. I'm like, all right, I'm here. It's kind of just you gotta learn when you're there, and hopefully you have a good agent that puts you in a good position, and not just trying to make as much money as you can at first, but puts you in a good position where you can accelerate your career faster.
What was the moment when you decided, okay, I'm going to go with this agent? How was that for you? What was the kind of kicker?
The kicker was I seen that he was with a lot of guys. Now this is through talking with my friend Nick and a couple other guys, that he had guys that started out in great positions in Europe. So I seen like France, Spain, a little bit of Germany. So I seen that my friend was telling me these are good countries to play at. He was putting guys in those countries. So I'm like, all right, let's go with him. It was kind of just that. And I thought they were a good agency, and they were. So it kind of just happened where you have 3 options, like kind of what you said, and I'm like, okay, this guy's good, but I'm gonna go with this guy.
Mhm.
And it's very
What?
stressful at the time because
Yeah.
it's not like picking a university where you go see the campus and everything. You're like, oh, this is nice. You meet a couple of guys.
Right.
You're just kind of throwing a dart your first year, but trying to feel and get feedback from everybody else.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. You got to ask people that have done it. And I mean, okay, you were lucky. You had some people around you that have done it. A lot
Right.
of people don't.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
so they kind of,
Exactly.
it's more difficult.
And that always helps for sure.
Yeah.
Like my brother is going through the process right now.
Yeah.
And,
So
you know, he has
that's
me.
That's the thing. He got
And
you.
he's still waiting for his job. And I'm like, just wait.
Mhm.
Like, there's a couple countries that I feel like he could have got an offer, and he wouldn't have fit, and he would have been done after a year.
Mhm.
And I'm like, and thankfully he's with my agent, so he has a good agent. And he was like, nah, it's not good. And I'm like, it's not worth it for you to go do that. Like, we want to like try to get you a good career to do it. To eventually, if you want to do this 5, 6, 7 years,
Mhm.
and if it doesn't work out your first year, you go. He has a master's degree. You go take your job.
Yeah.
You know. So, but if the first year, or you go get it this year, if it doesn't work out the way you want. So the first year is, you know, is very important. It's very important. You kind of need somebody to guide you through that.
Yeah. When you first signed with your first agent, how long was it between when you signed, let's say you signed with them in May or whatever, till you got your first offer?
First offer was Paris in August, week of August.
When did you sign with your agent?
I signed with him in April or May.
Okay, so that was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Pretty quick.
And you're thinking as your first job, you're texting your agent, I guess, like everybody else is gonna sign, why not me?
Yeah.
But any advice? Do not text your agent. I mean, if there's something wrong or you don't think he's working for you, okay. But usually, if you text your agent first in that summer period, your rookie year in June, July, you're not gonna get good news because he doesn't have anything for you. But especially your first year, you just gotta be patient. Be patient. You know, try not to stress. Get your workouts in. Don't get hurt. You know, and be patient.
I tell guys that all the time, and
Yeah.
I've got a guy that I'm working with right now who had a agency. He had signed with them in like May, ended up firing him in June.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that was not enough time.
Yeah.
Like, what do you expect?
Right.
Like, come on. And he would have been a rookie. It was his rookie season.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, dude, you got to get them back. And
Yeah.
he ended up now getting them back, but it's
like, understandable though. It's understandable, but it's not. But it's understandable because you want to play and you're just come on, where is it? And it's you know you just gotta be patient. Like, don't let the chips fall where they may. Like, the coach is gonna see you because you gotta tell them, like, after NBA Summer League, you know, that's when rookies start getting their jobs. Maybe.
Yeah.
So
it takes a while.
Yeah.
Before we move on to your pro career, is there any advice that you would give to someone who is in a similar situation like you, D2, D3, NAIA, flying under the radar maybe, that might help them in reaching their goal? Of course, everybody is different, but some kind of piece of advice that you would give to someone in a similar situation?
I would say know yourself. Know what your capabilities, your strengths, your weaknesses. Continue to work, because there's a lot of guys that say they want to do it, but they're not taking it as a professional at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
So you have to really understand where you want to be and think about that through the good and bad times, because if you're not getting the reps in, no one cares. You're not elevating your game. If you're at a D2 and you're killing in a D2, say you're a D2 All-American, it might not be the best idea for you to transfer. You might get a better offer as a D2 All-American than mid-major, low-major role player. Yeah. Because your first year, you're coming overseas. If you're American, like in France, there was 2 Americans when I played. You got to kind of be that guy if you're one of the 2 Americans. Yeah. So they want to see guys that are that guy. Now, if there's NIL money and everything, now it's a different story. But that's just, be careful of what is the next job you're going to pick if you're going to be that All-American that wants to transfer out. Make sure you see guys that played overseas at a good level or in the NBA at a good level at the same position as you, and to see if you're going to play the same minutes, and make sure you vet every coach after that if you are willing to transfer. And if you're not, and you're kind of that guy that's averaging 10 points at a D2 and you want to take that next step, Just be honest with your coach. Ask him, what can I be to be that guy? And if you don't see you as a guy, and there's not many places for you to go, try to show him that you're that guy. But it's you just got to be honest with yourself and play. You got to play basketball. You got to have a resume. So most important is having a resume.
I'm gonna go back a little bit because I just noticed the guy that I was just talking about firing the agent 2 months after he got him. He's actually in here. He's actually in here right now. He wrote, "I'll say it. It was me."
Right.
Gregory, I wasn't gonna put you on blast like that, man. I wasn't gonna say your name, but you put yourself out there, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on to Paris because I also played in Paris. You probably played against them in a practice game. I played in Real Mamoudzou.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Like a little neighborhood outside of Paris, right outside of Paris. And back then we were Pro B, and Paris is dope.
Yeah.
Paris is dope. How did you like living in Paris?
I mean, I love Paris. I mean, I was there for 5 years. I'm fluent in French now.
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend's French. So, I definitely adapted to the culture. But, Paris is like, it was where I kind of grew up and grew up as a man because I had to learn how to do everything myself in a whole different country, whole different language. And, that's definitely the place where I grew not only as a basketball player, but off the court also, like just learning about finances, cooking, taking the time to figure out what I'm going to do by myself because I got 12 hours a day by myself. So it's definitely a place where I learned a lot about myself. And, it's good for anybody to just kind of get out of your comfort zone for 6 months, if you're playing overseas or not, and really adapt to the environment around you. It's not just going over there and sitting in your house and having your house America and going to practice and coming back to America. Really experience and put yourself out there to be, in the culture. Try to learn the language. Try to really dive into everything because I think the biggest problem with guys that come overseas for their first year, they try to do the same things that they want to do in the States that they like in Europe, and it's not going to be the two same things. What I like in France is what I like in France. What I like in Germany is what I like in Germany. What I like in Spain is what I like in Spain. And what I like in the States is what I like in the States. I can't go to a college football game in Europe. So, but you gotta really try to find the things that you like to do in each place. And for me, it's, it's like I love getting a coffee, going to different coffee shops and drinking a coffee and just enjoying the environment, talking to the people there. So, and for you, it might be, for someone else, it might be different. But I think that's kind of one of my biggest takeaways from being in a different place than what I was accustomed to.
When I played in Paris, I had the most visitors out of any place that I ever played. In the 6 countries that I played, I think I had at least one visitor every 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier for sure.
Yeah, right. So, did you have a lot of people come visit you while you were there?
For sure. I mean, the first 2 years, I had my whole family come. And I got a big family. Except my brothers and sisters because they were still in school and they were young. But most of my grandparents, my mom, my dad, one of my brothers, and I think COVID happened 2020. So then after that, it got a little more difficult. I think they came another time. But, I mean, I had friends from college that were just there. I would meet up with buddies that I met from buddies just because, they're there. And I would love to show people, a little bit about Paris. So anytime there was someone that I even knew from a little bit, I would always try to make it my best to at least try to get them places if I wasn't there, if we're traveling or something to do something, or I would go meet them for, a coffee or something. But definitely had a lot of visitors.
Going back to when you first your rookie season overseas, is there anything that you wish maybe your agent had prepared you for before you got there, or any kind of information that you look back on now and wish you had been better prepared for?
I don't think there's much an agent could do preparing you when you go overseas. I think you just got to learn it because I heard thousands of people tell me thousands of different things, and you don't really know until you experience it. Now, like I remember we were losing a lot my first year. We started off 1-7, and I was stressing. I was playing pretty well, but I was stressing because everybody that ever told me is if you're losing, the Americans get fired. Right. And France is a little different. There's a lot of different. It's harder to do that, but I'm stressing because I'm thinking like I'm getting fired. This is over. This is my last game. Every kind of time they're about, that's my last one. Might as well go shoot a couple, make them. But that was kind of my mindset. It might have helped me because I like playing with that little bit of stress. It gets you a little more a little pressure. It gets you a little more concentrated. But and that was wrong. Like I tell my teammates that are like, "You're not getting cut." It's like stop. But I'm like, but this is what everybody tells me. So I mean, you can have a lot of people tell you different things, but when you really get there and you live it, you just gotta push through whatever you're going through.
Was your rookie season a success for you personally?
Personally, yeah, for sure. I was able to kind of establish myself my first year. We ended up finishing around 500, and the first year at Paris was the first year of the club. So I think the club bought the rights to a team in the South, literally
their license,
July 15th, and they got our team together like this. Like I think the first game there was 100 people there, and now they're going to be there. When I was there, we were playing games with 10,000 people in Roland Garros, and now they're going to have their own gym, everything. So to be there through that process was amazing, and it was definitely a good experience for me my first year, and helped me. In my second year, I got hurt, but it helped me, get to that kind of springboard to the next couple of years.
And then, what was it? Your third year, you guys won the title to move up, right?
Yeah. So the third year was crazy. It was crazy because it was the second COVID year. We getting paused, starting off, whatever. So we're in the middle of the season. We're like in 9th place, and this year there's no playoffs. The first 2 teams go up.
Right.
So we're not even thinking like we're going to be there. We're thinking hopefully they might change the rules and there'll be playoffs.
Right.
That honestly.
Right.
And I remember Sheck West joins the team. So and we're like, all right. So it's like we're thinking promotional thing, whatever. But he was playing in the games. Like he was actually playing in some big games. Mm-hmm. And we went on a streak where no one could touch us. We won, I think, 11 out of the next 12 games, and we end up having some good luck with a couple of teams. They end up getting COVID and dropping out a bit, and at the end of it, we were there and we ended up moving up. So it happened so fast.
Mm-hmm. What was it? Did you feel like accomplished that you guys were able to do that in such a short time, in 3 years?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it was the goal for that year. It was the goal the year before the COVID. So right. To be able to be the main guy on the team to help the team get there, it was a huge accomplishment and something that, I was obviously rewarded for too, because I ended up signing a 3-year deal the next year after we went to the first division. So, right. No, it was honestly something that I felt very proud of.
Mm-hmm. Marcus asked, any advice for someone trying to go overseas who played at a terrible school? I mean, yeah, terrible school is kind of hard.
That's what do you mean by terrible school?
Yeah,
like,
that's kind of hard, because then you're kind of bad mouthing your school, but you chose to go there.
Yeah, right. Depends. Every situation is different, but right. I mean, if you're at like a D3, it's a lot tougher than a D2. If you're at NAIA, it's a lot tougher than. Yeah. And these coaches don't really know either.
Yeah,
they don't know.
That's the thing, man. And that's what I tell the people that I consult with or I advise. What they don't realize is that Pablo in Spain, the GM of a team in Spain, he thinks D1 is the highest level of American college basketball. Why am I looking down at D2, D3, NAIA? It's gotten better with scouting. Yeah, of course. There's still a lot of people over here that say, okay, no, there's 356 D1 schools. I'm for sure gonna find me somebody that's D1.
Right. Right. Well, I know my coach specifically, he looked for D2 All-Americans. and he knew he could find diamonds in the rough
Right.
in D2 All-American schools. Like if there was a list of D2 All-Americans, he would look there for the player he wanted, and he would kind of scout that player. So he knew that level of a D2 All-American was probably the level of a Division I guy who's playing, and you know how to beat a guy.
Right.
It's very important to know how to beat a guy.
Exactly. That's important for a professional. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why John Christoph, thankful for him for taking me. You know, who knows where I'd be without him taking me my first year. So, but definitely it's like with anything, you got to have a good resume, and hopefully some coaches know, and you know they trust you, rock with you, and it just depends on your whole situation. You can't decide kind of where you go to school sometimes. It's kind of just got to fall where it may.
Yeah. So you were in Paris for 5 years, and then you ended up coming here to Braunschweig, where I live, and that was a situation where they were towards the bottom of the table. They were fighting to stay in the league. First of all, how did you get out of Paris to come to Braunschweig? And I'll answer that first.
Okay, so I was in Paris, and I wasn't playing too much. They brought in another American. We switched coaches.
Yeah.
I always had a good relationship with the front office in Paris and everything, and I just said, look, I want to play. Yeah. I still had 2 more years on my deal, and I ended up getting loaned to Braunschweig. And this is my 5th year, and I had no idea what a loan was. I didn't know it was possible at all. And my agent just calls me and said, this team in Braunschweig wants to loan you to come play here, and I go, all right. And what made it great was it was the same team as Davi Kramer. And he was my friend from, like, me and him did everything in Pittsburgh, because he would come train with Pete Strobel in Pittsburgh. Who used to be the coach of Braunschweig. So him being there definitely was like, oh, I'm going to go play there. I'm going to go play a lot. And it ended up being a great decision for me to, prove myself. Because, if you don't really play, even in Europe, like you can establish yourself how many different times. Yeah. And if you don't play that 1 year, you're behind the 8 ball, basically. Yeah. So it was a decision that was hard for me to make, because my whole professional career was in Paris. Right. And it was like being a rookie again. But honestly, that made me grow in so many different ways with basketball and outside of basketball. But go ahead.
I've never, in my career, I never left a team to go to another team that was about to drop down or in danger of dropping down. I would think that that's a different kind of pressure. Like, you're coming to a team, you're new, you got to get adjusted to the guys quick, because you guys need to win. You're under pressure to win, to stay in the league. How did you take that as you came to Braunschweig and how did you deal with that situation, that this is a team that could possibly move down? Also, that looks bad on your resume if you're on a team that moved down. How did you deal with that?
Well, in Paris, we were in danger zone too. So my first year in the first league. So I kind of had experience with that, and me, I need that pressure. I need to be playing for something, and I knew that I was going to go to Braunschweig and be able to be. There was a lot of young guys there. They really let the young guys play, and Paris was kind of the same type of philosophy. They let the young French guys play, and I knew with the younger guys that they get better as the season goes on, and sometimes they just need a couple pieces to get there. But they had athletes, they had guys that could play. They were in games, but they kind of just needed a change of pace. Someone that, I bring positive energy. I don't give up on any plays. Practices, I like to think that I up the level of intensity in the practice too. So I knew I could go somewhere, and you say it could look bad on them going down, but honestly, you have nothing to lose. They're already in last place. Right. It could look great if you help them stay, and then everybody in the city, they're appreciative of it too. And Braunschweig definitely showed that they're appreciative of that, because my first game there, it was a sold out. We're playing at home, and we're playing for just to stay in the league. So they definitely appreciate guys that give it their all.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's Braunschweig's philosophy, like you said, to play the young guys, and then towards the end of the season, once they see, okay, we need to add some pieces, then they do that. And you were one of those guys, one of those pieces that they added. I thought they did a really good job of recruiting for the guys that they brought in towards the end of the season, you included. What can you compare the BBL to France and how the level of play is in both countries?
Yeah, I would say they're pretty neck and neck, depending on each year and which team. I think it depends on different situations too, because France has like a tax situation that they may not be able to keep a couple guys year after year if you don't have the right tax agent, whatever. In Germany, you're getting your money, as the money you see on the contract. And France might say net, but there's some hoops and you got to jump through things. And after your first year you sign in France, so next year be like, I'm not dealing with this. So that could play a role in it. But the level is pretty similar. Germany is definitely a little bit more structured, a little like as you see with the national team. They play, they could play like robots, but they also can hoop too. And I definitely seen that. And honestly, Germany is a little bit fast paced. Like they push the ball a lot. France was a little bit more athletic. Germany might have been a little bit more stronger, but the level of play was definitely comparable.
Yeah, that's what I would have said too. Since you played your season here and now you're in Spain, how have you adjusted to life in Spain and a different quality of ball?
Yeah, I mean, you can see in Spain that it's definitely a lot of thinking. My first couple of days here, I'm definitely like, all right, I gotta be on it like this. And Coach Cito, he's a great coach, and you see the guys that have been in Spain for 5-6 years, they just pick it up. They just pick it up and keep it rolling. And me, there was definitely a little transition for the first week of just trying to get all the information and play without thinking. And I think after you get that, you kind of feel for it. But the season hasn't started yet, and there's a whole nother thing I have to learn with scouting and everything, and different types of way we match up with different types of players. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited to learn, about the Spanish basketball. And it's coming here, I was just thinking it's like getting your PhD in basketball. If I came here my first year, there's no way I've been able to survive. So it's definitely the level of thinking you have to do in Spain, and the way the teams play off of help and everything is definitely a high level.
Yeah. Do you have any personal goals for yourself each year, and how does that look in Spain right now?
Personal goals, in Spain, the time of play is definitely shared between the whole team. But I want to be able to kind of replicate what I was able to do in the other countries as this year. I want to be. I never really put numbers on it, but I know that I can get a couple offensive rebounds a game. I get a couple defensive rebounds a game.
So effort.
Do the same things, but do the things that I do really well. And that's why I said I could put numbers on it, but then I'm always going to look at the numbers and be like, oh, I'm not there. But I don't want to stress about that. But I'm going to do what I need to do. Most important to me is stay locked in each practice every day for the whole season. Competitive endurance is huge. I think as you play more and more, you have to really know that, okay, you're in November. It feels like you've been here forever, but you still have to have that competitive endurance to do what you need to do to be ready. I think that's my biggest goal in each year is kind of staying consistent. And, you're going to have ups and downs, but staying consistent, working on your own game, staying consistent, being locked in practice, staying consistent with the scouting report. That's my main goal basically for each year. And then with basketball, it just comes. As long as you're consistent for me off the court, on the court, the basketball will be there at the end of the day through my ups and downs. And I know that through my highs, and I know that through my lows. And I try not to get too high, and I try not to get too low.
That's a good attitude to have, man. I only got a couple more questions for you. When you look back on the trajectory of your career so far, what are you the most proud
of? I would say getting Paris to the first division is probably one of the proudest things, because that was kind of like my first title, I would guess. It wasn't officially a title, but we did the job. Like we got there.
Right.
I think each year there was a different accomplishment I made. My second year I broke my ankle, just being able to play a couple games before the COVID was a great accomplishment. Like I had a crazy injury where my ankle was off my leg, where I probably didn't think I was gonna play again. I'm looking at my ankle, I'm like, am I gonna walk again? So I had to deal with that my second year, and just being able to prepare myself for the next year to have that breakout season that I had. I was maybe the most proud, I think, in my career, because I had to learn how to take care of my body, take care of my mind, because after that ankle injury, the first couple of times you drive the lane, it's a little scary. So I think that season was my best season, but also the proudest because of what I gone through to get there.
So, okay, I got a couple quick answer questions, and then I'm gonna let you get out of here. The first one is, you know the game Kiss, Kill, or Marry, right?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
You have three choices. You kiss one, you kill one, you marry
Okay.
one. We're gonna do a little bit different. You name me someone. It could be any era, any player, dead or alive. Someone you would have liked to play with, someone you would like to play against, and someone who you would like to win a title against, or you would have liked to win a title against. It could be any era, any genre, any country, NBA. It doesn't matter.
I think I would like to play with Stockton. This one is ability to pass. If we're talking about, NBA type of guys, it would definitely be Stockton, the way he passed the ball.
Okay.
I love to play with LeBron, because that was the guy I watched growing up my whole life. And
who would you want to win a title against?
Title against. If I really had to, it would be great to beat my dad in a high school, basketball title.
I ask this question quite often, and it's always NBA guys. That's the gold standard, right?
Yeah.
But that's a pretty dope comment that you would wish that you would beat your dad. That's original.
I mean, my dad wasn't even a hooper. It was just I gotta beat him in something. It'd been nice to beat him. I think the last time he played, he took a charge, and that was it. He was done.
What was more difficult, winning the Pro B title or moving up with your parent team, or keeping the title or keeping the team alive in Braunschweig? Keep them in.
Winning the Pro B title for sure.
Because you were there longer, of course, but
because and when you got to keep a team alive, we were really, really in the red zone, but you're competing against teams that are also not as good. They get better at the end of the year, but with the team we had in Braunschweig, we had a great team at the end of the year, and the pieces that we brought in, and the guys that were there, we ended up we were probably a playoff caliber team if that team was together for the whole year. So
the whole year,
yeah. And I had no doubt that we were going to finish the job there.
I'm gonna throw you under the bus for this one.
Yeah.
This next question. Your favorite teammate in Europe? You can only
favorite teammate in Europe.
We're going to piss off a whole lot of people. So go ahead.
So you can't. I got a lot of good teammates, but my favorite teammate is Gautier Denny. We've been through the ups and downs every which way. I still talk to him almost every day. He's killing it in France now. He's about to have a great year this year. But definitely Gucci. He was the one that kind of brought me into the French life too. He's very French, and he's very, the thing with French people, they're kind of cold and they're off-putting at first, but when you become their friend, you're really their friend. I'm getting invited to the barbecues, everything. I'm playing pétanque. I'm doing it all. So, but definitely Gucci, because we've been through everything together.
Okay. What's your favorite hoop shoe of all time?
Hoop shoe?
Yeah.
Probably go back to college. I think it was the KD 8s or 9s. They had the bubble at the bottom.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
The bubble would always break, but I always send them right back to Nike and get a new pair. So other than the bubble breaking, those shoes were the best. Light. They were my favorite shoe.
Last one. What's something that you've learned about yourself in your career overseas?
I learned that I like to learn. When I was in college, I wouldn't say I kind of was just getting through it, but when I came to Europe, I'm very curious. I'm a very curious person, and I love to learn about anything, anything that makes me feel intrigued. Even people that are very interesting. I love to learn about different types of people. If I'm with somebody that's interested about something, I become interested in it. So, and I think that first 6 months in Paris was a struggle because I'm like, what do I do? And then, I mean, after that 6 months, I kind of figured out my routine, and I started learning. My first year, I started learning about like finances. I started learning about different things, history, being in Paris, and then my second and third year, that's when I kind of try to figure out French, and I got it. I ended up figuring out and learning and being able to communicate. And I think that was my biggest takeaway from being with myself and being in Europe and kind of having to figure out like what do I do with my time is I really like to learn. And if you'd have asked me that, when I'm 20, 21 in college, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this to get through it. It might help me later, but definitely the maturity process excelled a lot faster when you got to figure it out for yourself.
It's also a thing of it's not book learning, it's life learning.
Like, yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly.
So you're learning about life. You're learning about.
No one's telling me to do it. I have a problem with telling me to do it, or else. Not kind of just like if you don't do this, you don't pass this test, it's gonna be bad. I'm like, that's not interesting to me. I'm learning about rocks and geology. I'm like, I had no interest in that. So I mean, there's definitely things that you learn about yourself, and if you take the time to figure it out. Now I know a lot of guys that just come here and they're just like, yeah. And they do the same thing they've been doing for 5 years. But, even those guys that have been doing it 5 years, I would think if you take advantage of it, you can really learn a lot about yourself and progress each year.
Yeah. That, my friend, is a great way to wrap it up. That's a great thing that you said, and I stand totally behind what you said. I mean, obviously, I've been living overseas for 28 years, almost 29 years, so I've definitely immersed myself into European culture everywhere I've been, and I think you're totally on point with what you said, and that's a good way to end it, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And like I said before, like I think what you did is an inspiration, and a lot of people can learn from it. And those are things why I do this podcast. That's why I do what I do. So I appreciate you coming on and spending your time here and doing this, man. I think it'll be very, very well received.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
So you have a good season in Spain, man. I'll be keeping my eye on you. I'll hit you up from time to time, check on you.
Sure, for sure.
And, if I can ever do anything for you, please let me know.
Yeah, good luck this year. You're coaching too, right? So
I'm
good luck.
coaching under 14.
Yeah. That's still
still
get the juices going. That's good. That's still fun though, for sure.
I'll maybe I'll have to do a video call with you with my under 14 before a game or something like that.
Oh, for sure. I'll get them going.
They'll be hyped for sure.
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate you going with the rest of your night, man.
Thank you.
Good luck with your season.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Later. So everyone, thank you for tuning in. Another one in the books. Glad we had Dustin in to give his point of view on life as a professional basketball player that came from a D2 school, not a D1, not Duke, not North Carolina, but a D2. And there's a lot of players that I talk to that are also coming from D2, D3s, and they want to find their way. And obviously he did a good job with finding his way. So that's it for me for tonight. I am taking a little bit of a break from the show. I said that last week as well. I want to devote some time to some other things. I will still be doing this show occasionally if I get someone on that really interests me, but not in the before. If anybody needs anything from me, you know where to find me. And I hope everybody is doing well wherever you are in the world. And wave to the last people that are just coming in. I hope to hear from some of you. If you got some requests for players that you would like to see on the show or something like that, I'm all for it. Let me know. Other than that, have a good night wherever you're at. Hope you're safe. Hope your family's safe. Oded out.